Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Learning Canadian English, the podcast where we explore the quirks, culture, and language of Canadian life. I'm your host, Mike, and I am officially wearing 3 layers of clothing today.
And I'm Jen, and Mike, I feel that. The thermostat in my house is working overtime. I saw the first flurries this morning, and it sent a literal shiver down my spine. Winter is not coming, it is here.
It is absolutely here, and that first snowfall always triggers a very specific Canadian phenomenon. It's like a switch flips, and suddenly half the population of your parents' neighborhood just vanishes.
Vanishes. It's so true. They pack up their cars, head to the airport, and follow the sun south. Which brings us to today's topic, the great Canadian snowbird.
A perfect topic for a chilly day. So Jen, for our listeners who might not be familiar, give us the official definition. What is a snowbird?
In the simplest terms, a snowbird is a Canadian, typically a retiree, who migrates to warmer climates for the winter months. We're not talking a week-long vacation. We're talking about relocating for anywhere from 3 to 6 months.
Right, a whole season. They basically skip winter entirely. This has been a thing for decades, right? I feel like my grandparents' generation was one of the first to really embrace it in a big way.
For sure. The trend really took off in the 70s and 80s as travel became more accessible and more people had pensions that allowed for that kind of lifestyle. But it's evolving now, too.
Evolving how?
Well, with the rise of remote work, you're starting to see younger people and families doing it, not just retirees. They're becoming work-from-somewhere warm birds. It's a bit of a new spin on the classic snowbird idea.
That's a great point. Why suffer through a dreary February in Canada if you can take your Zoom calls from a balcony overlooking the ocean? It's the modern dream.
Totally. So let's talk about where they're all going. The classic and #1 destination has to be Florida, right?
Oh, without a doubt. It's affectionately called Canada's southmost province in the winter. My grandparents used to go to a place near Clearwater every year. I remember visiting as a kid and being so confused.
Confused why?
Because it felt like we hadn't left Canada. The park they were in had a giant Canadian flag up the entrance, the local newspaper had a Canadian corner, and the grocery store had a whole aisle dedicated to Canadian products like ketchup-flavored chips and coffee crisp chocolate bars. It was surreal.
That is amazing. A home away from home, literally. And then you have the whole RV culture. So many snowbirds drive down in their recreational vehicles and set up in massive resort-like RV parks for the winter.
Oh yeah, it's a whole subculture. And for the Western Canadians, the big draw is Arizona. It's that dry desert heat. Places like Mesa, Scottsdale, and Palm Springs just over the border in California are huge hotspots.
It really is. But the U.S. isn't the only game in town anymore. Mexico has exploded in popularity. Places like Puerto Vallarta on the Pacific coast or the whole Mayan Riviera near Cancun are massive draws. My cousin spends her winters near Playa del Carmen.
Oh, nice. What's that like?
It's a totally different vibe from the Florida scene. It's less about recreating Canada in the sun and more about integrating. Her community is a mix of Canadians, Americans, and Europeans. They all take Spanish lessons together, their social life revolves around local restaurants and bed clubs, and they explore the local culture, like visiting Mayan ruins or swimming in cenotes.
That sounds incredible, and I think a big part of that appeal is the value. Your Canadian dollar often goes a lot further in Mexico. You can live a very comfortable lifestyle for less.
Absolutely, and people are getting even more adventurous. I know people who snowbird in Costa Rica for the nature, Panama for the affordability, and even Spain and Portugal for that European flair.
Wow, Portugal for the winter. That's the life. So what do they do all day? I think some people imagine them just sitting on a beach chair for 4 months straight.
Which sounds nice for a week, but yeah, it's much more than that. The lifestyle is incredibly social and active. In those big communities, especially in the U.S., the days are structured around activities.
Right, like golf is a huge one.
Golf is massive and tennis, but the undisputed king of snowbird sports right now is pickleball. It's everywhere. It's social, it's not too hard on the body, and people are obsessed.
The pickleball craze. I believe it. What else?
There are social clubs for everything. Card games like bridge and euchre are huge. There are shuffleboard leagues, aquafit classes in the community pool, happy hours, potluck dinners, craft fairs. The list is endless. My uncle sends pictures of his community's weekly schedule, and it's more packed than a university student's.
That sounds fantastic, actually. It's a built-in community. You're not just escaping the weather, you're stepping into a vibrant social life. It's a great way to combat the loneliness and isolation that winter can sometimes bring.
Exactly. Of course, it's not all sunshine and pickleball. There are challenges. We mentioned the cost, which is a major barrier for many people.
Yeah, it's a real privilege to be able to do it. And then there's the distance from family. Missing holidays, the birth of a grandchild, that can be really tough. Technology helps, but it's not the same as being there.
Not at all. And another, perhaps less talked about con is dealing with health issues abroad. Even with insurance, navigating a different healthcare system can be stressful and complicated.
That's a huge point. And on the flip side, some people I've talked to actually go south partly for healthcare access. They might pay out of pocket for a procedure in the US or Mexico to avoid long waiting times for certain surgeries back in Canada.
That's a fascinating angle. So it can be both a pro and a con depending on your situation. And then there are the practicalities of managing two homes. You have to worry about your house back in Canada. Is the heat on? Are the pipes going to freeze?
For sure, you need a reliable house sitter or very kind neighbors. So let's pivot to some advice. If someone is dreaming of this lifestyle, what's a recommendation you have, Jen? Maybe a spot that's a little off the beaten path?
I mentioned Panama before, and I really think it's an up-and-coming spot. But another one I've been hearing amazing things about is the Silver Coast of Portugal. It's north of Lisbon, less crowded and more affordable than the Algarve in the south, but with beautiful beaches and amazing food.
The Silver Coast of Portugal. I'm writing that down for my retirement plan.
You should. And for you, Mike, any practical must-know tips for the first-time snowbird?
My number one, can't stress this enough tip, is to figure out your travel medical insurance way in advance. Canadian provincial healthcare barely covers you outside the country. A medical emergency in the US can lead to hundreds of thousands of dollars in bills if you're not properly insured.
That is the most important piece of advice, seriously.
My second tip is about money. Look into cross-border banking options. Many Canadian banks have U.S. affiliates that make it easier to manage your money and avoid constant currency exchange fees. And if you're driving down, let your credit card company know your travel plans.
Excellent tips. I'll add one about technology. Before you go, set up your family back home on whatever video chat platform you prefer. Schedule regular video calls. Seeing faces makes a huge difference in staying connected across the miles.
That's a great one. And my last tip for drivers, know the rules. You can generally keep your Canadian plated car in the US for up to a year, but you need to be aware of insurance and registration requirements. Don't just assume everything is the same.
Good point. A little bit of research prevents a lot of headaches. So the final verdict, Mike, in 30 years, are we trading our parkas for swim trunks from November to April?
I'm with you. A winter light plan. I still love some parts of Canadian winter, a white Christmas, a bit of skiing, but by the time February rolls around, I'm done. The idea of swapping my snow shovel for a beach towel sounds like pure bliss.
I am 100% in. I might not do the full 6 months every year, but the idea of skipping the worst of winter, say January through March, is my ultimate life goal. The thought of having a little apartment somewhere warm is what gets me through the dark days of February. It's the Canadian dream.
It really is. Well, that about wraps it up for today. We've journeyed south with the Canadian snowbird, exploring why they go, where they go, and what they do to escape the Great White North's chilly embrace.
From the pickleball courts of Arizona to the coasts of Portugal, it's a lifestyle that's all about chasing the sun. We hope it's given you some warm thoughts on this cold day.
A huge thank you to all of you for listening to Learning Canadian English. Join us next time as we explore another piece of Canadian culture. Until then, stay warm.
Or book a flight. Bye for now.